The secret to happiness is to align with your soul's wisdom, but daily life often gets in the way. To keep you on your path, join Linda Manning, transformational coach and healer, for spiritual inspiration and interviews with amazing healers and teachers. If you are eager to connect with your soul, excited to travel on inner adventures, and are curious to learn from cutting-edge teachers, then this is the podcast for you.
So welcome, listeners. This is Linda Manning with my special guest, Julie Little. We are here to inspire you, to help you trust your own wisdom, as we are going to share about the journeys. We're going to find out about Julie's journey into her own growth and amazingness. And so this should be a fantastic, inspiring podcast today. So let me tell you a little bit about Julie. Julie and I have known each other for, I think, about a year. And I've come to really know, love, and admire her. So I'm very excited to have her as a guest. Julie is a certified life coach. She's a longtime educator, and she's the author of her new book, Light on the Pond Scum, a memoir. So if you've ever experienced your life as feeling some pond scum, you'll probably be able to relate to Julie's story. She follows the spiritual teachings of Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hahn, and she shares her mindfulness and meditation practices with others. And what Julie's really into these days is coaching busy women who are finally ready to say, it is my turn, so they can step into a life of greater joy and fulfillment. And I know I've benefited from some of Julie's wisdom, and I'm sure the rest of you will too.
Thank you, Linda.
So Julie, I know that you've been really working hard on this, It's My Turn, and looking at your own journey from some of the challenges maybe with speaking up or self-care to where you are today. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey. And what are some of the struggles? Like, we get to be real, right? What are some of the struggles that you've had with feeling like maybe it wasn't your turn?
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here. This is great. I describe kind of a chaotic upbringing in my story, Light on the Pond Scum, moving around quite a bit, almost every year or even more, and different stepdads and loss of my dad, siblings, half siblings, and raising them. So what ended up happening, that was my way of surviving and maybe becoming an identity or becoming important, was to raise my siblings. And so my dad wasn't around and my mom was very busy. And so I took on that role. So I did everything with my little sister, like teaching her how to ride a bike and writing down every word she said for the first year she was talking. And, I did what I could do, and I did what I thought was going to make me an important part of the family. I was the oldest. I also have siblings in South America that I didn't really ever see. So, but I did get to go visit them once. And I just ended up being, like a lot of women, an early on caregiver.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of caretaking of others. And maybe, again, in the service of your family or in service of feeling important, putting your own needs aside and focusing out.
Right. Well, then I became a teacher. And of course, teaching in the public schools for 35 years, you're very busy and you're very in tune with what kids need, but also what their parents need, because I was doing elementary quite a bit and junior high. So those were fun. And I just, I remember in junior high, my meditation and my break was to walk to the mailbox, in the teacher's lounge. But after school, so that was it, because I could see out the windows. I could see trees. And so that was my break all day long. That was the only break I got, as if I checked my mail. And once we were getting email, all the other teachers would be like, I don't do that. I don't go check my real mail, because why should I? But I said, it's my only chance to see trees, out the window. But I would eat a Snickers bar and drink a couple cups of coffee at 4 o'clock every day. So that was my self-care. And then I became a single mom.
I can kind of relate to that self-care, to be honest. Like that 4 o'clock, need for
Yeah,
sugar boost, which we both know is not the healthiest self-care,
right.
but sure is
That
tempting.
dip in energy. Right. So as a single mom, I was, I adopted my little girl from China when she was 1. So I bought a house. I was still teaching. I had a couple months off from maternity leave, but she had a quick trip to surgery one time, and of course all the different things that go on when you have a little one. And I remember standing at the front door, having called a friend to bring me over a taco and saying, my life just doesn't work. And I was, crying out emphatic, what do I do? And what I came to learn, and just through experimentation, I guess, was that a little bit more self-care would balance things out a little bit better, and I would be a better mom, and I would be a better teacher. I had this tendency to be grumpy, and I guess a lot of us.
Yeah. I think that's really true, Julie. And what you're talking about to me is a sign. You're like, what are the signs or that help us know that we need more
Yeah,
self-care?
yeah,
And one of those signs is
yeah,
grumpiness.
yeah. Irritability. Right,
Yeah.
right. Maybe having of moments where you just don't, you're frozen or something. So
Right.
I took.
Right. And I don't know if you're a nice person, but I don't know about anger. Like you talk about grumpy, but I think, it can ratchet up from
Right.
grumpy to other words.
Unfortunately, absolutely true. Absolutely true. So I took myself on a weekend trip. And I don't know, I guess my daughter was like 6 or something, and I could leave her with a relative. And I went to a resort nearby, very nearby. I didn't go far, but I spent 2 nights, and I ordered the lava cake at room service. I went to the spa and had my, toenails painted. I mean, it was not what you would call the truly extravagant, heading off to Tahiti or something, but I did a little tiny, mini trip. And I was better, even just, I wrote all the time. I wrote and wrote, in a journal while I was gone. And I just decided that a little bit more self-compassion, a little bit more self-care were going to turn things around, and I was going to be a good mom. And then, in the process, become a better teacher, and being able to not really balance, but put things in more harmony.
So it sounds like you needed that space, just a
Mhm.
little bit of space, a little bit of time away from the everyday parenting, teaching, working, food prep, all of that
Yeah,
stuff that, can just take up all of our time so that we don't even give ourselves the breathing room to reflect. And then by giving yourself just that little bit, a couple of days, one lava cake, a couple of days of breathing room, started to give you perspective. And have you realized that a little time to you can make a huge difference?
it really does make a huge difference. And I talk to clients about, a half a day of mindfulness. In my practice, in my spiritual practice, we have days of mindfulness. But if you give yourself like a half day lazy day, or call it whatever you will, that is sort of that space where you go off on your own. And some people might go off and just window shop. It doesn't have to be, navel gazing kind of thing. You can do whatever it is that would be joyful to you at that time. That half a day will pay off.
And actually the word you just used really struck me, which is joyful, whatever is joyful to you. Because I think you could take a half a day to yourself, but not actually get I can't even say the word, replenished. Or you can take that half a day and just be with you and what brings you joy. And whatever that is, that can really fill you up.
Exactly. And it is about filling up your well. I mean, I teach that in my wellness,
Mhm.
let's fill up our
Yeah.
well. But it really wouldn't even have to be a 3.5 hours. It could be a 1 hour, when you're talking
Yeah.
about
I
joy.
have a I have a coaching client who She's a mom of a pretty young child, and she's working, um, and but she loves to run. And she realized that when she wasn't running, because she was giving up running to take care of everyone, she just, she had less energy. She was definitely more grumpy and other things.
Yeah.
And by going back to running, which felt selfish to
Right.
her. And that's one of the problems I think we have as women in particular, is that when we do something for ourselves, we can feel like we're being selfish.
Right. And selfish.
And so once she realized that, like, actually running, and even her husband was like, please go run, because, it just made her more easier to live with.
And that is a problem, what you said about the word selfish. And I've had even men in like when I've given a talk, say, well, I was trained, not to be selfish. So I feel like it's a women thing, that women, that's a big bad word. But if you replace that word with self-compassion or self-love or self-care or something completely different, self-support even. If I just did some self-support every day, it doesn't have to feel like it's a negative connotation.
I like that, self-support. That's actually a little bit of a different term than I've heard. So what are some things that you do, Julie, for self-support?
Well, I have put it into a list for every morning lately, and it is on my I get to do list. It's called 8 by 10. And what I do with that is I have a longer list of maybe 20 things I can choose from, and I do 8 of them every morning by 10 o'clock. Now, I don't always. That's why the 8 by 10. I tried to do 9 by 9. I haven't gotten there yet. But the 8 by 10 pretty much works, at least at some point in the day. I'll do it, walk outdoors. I'll do my Tai Chi practice. I'll do a sitting meditation. I'll have my 2 glasses of water or my green smoothie or something on that list. I have energy medicine book that has a 5-minute energy medicine step-by-step program. So there's a lot of things on there. And if that doesn't work one day, then something else will work, and I can get 8 things done in the morning. And that is, I moved recently, so it took a while to get back to doing that. But getting back to doing that, boy, am I able to tell a difference. Moving,
Yeah, sometimes when you take a break from it, that's when you actually notice how much of a difference it makes.
Yeah. So I go to an exercise place here that's a community center, so we can do yoga there and different kinds of Zumba and stuff like that. But really, to me, it's the not beating yourself up with negativity and I wish I had, or I should have, or why didn't I, or I'm such a schmuck, those kind of things. That's the self-compassion piece. And if
well, I'd love to hear, let's talk about that a little bit more, because I think that's so important. Because I'm sure we have lots of listeners who, if they listened, I always feel like if we talk to somebody else the way we talk to ourselves, we would not be friends with that person. But we do it all the time to ourselves. So tell me a little bit about, do you have any tips or tricks, or what do you do with that self-talk part?
Well, it takes a lot of practice to stop it before it gets crazy. I think that's part of the stopping practice, which is meditation. And so, but really, you can just insert you can learn to do 2 things: stop the negative, but you can also learn to insert the positive. And so if you, there was a time a couple of years ago, I had a car that was really low to the ground. I don't have it anymore. And I ran over, I ran over a curb and stuck there. Like I couldn't get back. I was going the wrong way on a street. It was crazy. And anyway, I got like teeter-tottering on this curb, in the middle of my car. And I figured it out. I got out of there. I don't know. It just fell or whatever. But I started to be like, oh, this is so idiotic. How the hell did I do that? But then I said, I was really stressed. So it is exactly what you said, Linda, about how would you say this to someone you really cared about? Like you really cared about your, let's say, 20-year-old daughter. Would you still sit there and call them an idiot? You wouldn't. You would say, oh no, dear, you were stressed. And so it was really, logical that you turned around in the middle of traffic, but, and I do find that my daughter's 21 now. I am supportive when she messes up. So I try to do that too. And so you just have to be better at stopping, and that takes practice and practice. But then you insert something kind. And I noticed when I did that, when I was driving away, I just relaxed because I wasn't going to get punished or beaten up or insulted for a pretty silly mistake.
Right. Like if we hold ourselves to this like unrealistic high perfection standing and then we don't meet it and then we're, all of these bad things because of that. Or if we have compassion and kindness and even humor, right? Like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. But, and if sort of like, if we can have humor with our foibles, then I think it's so much better.
It is, and the negative spirals in a pretty awful way to the bad mood, and then the grumpiness, and then the anger, and then the beating yourself up, and then the next bad thing happens because you're in this energy of misery.
Right, or you short with somebody else, or you're and it kind of I think we all have the ability to have, well, we all do have impact on others. And it's a question of which impact we're going to have. So we're going to impact others through love and through kindness. We're going to impact others through grumpiness and anger. So some of that is, really comes from how we treat ourselves.
And so important is what you're saying, that if you learn to say to yourself, oh, laugh it off, or, oh, that was hilarious, or what did you just do? Then you actually it's easier for you to do that to the next person. It is not just, just in habit. Oh, that was kind of funny that you did that, instead of just, railing on them. It becomes your go-to way of responding. And it's, it just takes doing it.
Yeah, it is. It's a practice, right? Like any of these other things we're talking about. It's a practice. We have to practice self-compassion, self-kindness, self-humor, all of those things. And when we can, as we practice them, I think it becomes easier and easier.
One of the things that it made me think of right now as you were talking is that Derek Rydell has a night pages activity. And I just really like journaling for all kinds of things that my clients are going through. But night pages is sort of a positive journaling in the evening with 4 quadrants to a page. And it's things you can do and things you achieved, and it focuses your end of the day when you're going to go to sleep and try to relax. Instead of on the negative, it focuses on what you did well. And I think that's good practice too.
Yeah, that's a great point, Julie, that we want to set ourselves up for success before bed and set ourselves up for success in the morning, because those are 2 big transition times, and of course throughout the day. But those even if you take 2 minutes to focus on what went well, because our minds can just spin into everything that went wrong. So just really that discipline of what was the success today? What went well today? What did I accomplish today? Because I believe, and I know you do too, that the more we focus on what's right with us, the more of that is what will happen. And so as we have that practice of focusing on how we are, doing well, then we're just going to build more and more of that muscle.
So maybe a good question, I haven't ever asked it this way before, is how was I compassionate with myself today?
I like that.
And that would be a very good thing to maybe write.
We're both writing that one down, right, Julie?
Yeah, to write that down.
How was I compassionate with myself today?
At the end of anything. Like even I was thinking at the end of an argument, or at the end of a stressful day, or at the end of anything, that would be a good journaling practice for a lot of people. Is if that's the thing about practice, to try to get better at something is you have to do it with lots of modalities. You have to hear it
Yeah.
and see it and practice writing it and saying it out loud and all that kind of stuff, feel it in your body. And so the more you are, let's say you took a whole week that you're focused on being more self-compassionate, then you would write and you would, have the words up on the wall, all that good stuff.
Yeah. I was a friend of mine was doing that with gratitude,
Yes.
and where he would every night I think write 25 things he was grateful for, but it had to be 25 things that were different from that he hadn't written down
Yeah.
before. And what he found was that because he knew that he needed that 25 things, he would be looking for them all
Yeah.
day.
That's
Because
great.
like 25 is a pretty big number, right? So like you're like, okay, I gotta be, and it's 25 new things. So it just helped him have that mindfulness around gratitude. And I think this mindfulness about self-compassion could be really powerful.
Yes, it can change how you treat yourself, and how you treat yourself really changes your day.
Yeah. I love it. Aren't we
Yeah,
good,
thank
Julie?
you. Yeah.
All right. Well, I know that you've got a course coming up soon around It's My Turn, and I would just love to hear a little bit more about that and have the listeners hear a little bit more about what you're up to
Okay,
these
great.
days.
Sure. I just I don't know, created what all of the things are that I see women needing when they get to that point of, I just can't take it anymore, or just kind of the drab feeling of, how come I never did this? Or how come I never did what I wanted to do? And so It's My Turn is for anyone who's feeling that kind of, not even a transition yet, but possibly a need for a transition, maybe. So I have programs where it can be in person. I mean, it can be one-on-one, and it can also be group. So I'm just very excitedly working with someone to get this beautiful description page, and I love it, that says, it's my turn, and it tells a little bit of that story I told you about, and it tells you, that at the end there's a way to look at the book, and it's just got a lot of information on there about what this is. But it's what I do with women who are ready and motivated for their lives to be more joyful and fulfilling. And so it could be all kinds of reasons. It might be people that are going through, new divorce, or moving, or I've been through all of them, all of those transitions, and transitions are hard. And people said I was crazy when I moved here from, pretty far away, like 5 states away, just in September. But sometimes you just, need to. So
Sometimes crazy is good.
Retirement. Sometimes it's retirement or pre-retirement or thinking about retirement. I spoke with a client the other day, and she's like afraid to retire.
Yeah.
And she's teaching.
I can understand that because I feel like I don't have a vision yet for what retirement would be that I'm excited about. I have a vision for doing some travel. That part I'm clear on. But in terms of like beyond that, and I think without a vision for what you want, it's hard to get excited.
Exactly. And as this other client said to me, what we would build together, she was saying the same thing. I'm not excited about retirement. We would build together in the program, It's My Turn, is the roadmap to get there. So, for example, yours with travel, you don't have it kind of laid out yet. What does it?
Oh, I have some stuff laid out with travel. Travel's my easy spot. It's what
Well,
else?
to make the travel part of your next thing, how would that fit in, and how, and just you can't see it yet. And so that's what's cool to go through with a coach, is how would it look, and how wouldn't it look?
Yeah.
It wouldn't, it wouldn't look like I just work my tail off for 300 days of a year and then I go on a little week trip. It's not like that. It's you've got something else bubbling up, and so that's a really great thing to talk through out loud with people, with a coach especially.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And even though I do have some actual ideas, but there's a lot of details that I don't have. And what would that actually
Right.
look like and feel like and be
Right.
like? And what do I want to get from it? There's a lot more work I could do. And I think that would, working with a coach to help me solidify my vision probably would help me feel more
Yeah.
excited. Not that I'm ready to retire yet, but when I am.
But the excitement there is part of that, going through a transition well. I want to do that.
Mhm.
It's not like, oh, I have to, it's getting
Right.
excited about it will be great.
All right, great. So, why don't we just say it out loud here, but then I'll also, of course, put it in the show notes. What is the best way to reach you, Julie?
Well, the description page is at jewelsofwellbeing.com. So it's JEWELSOFWELLBEING. I better spell it right.
Jewels of Wellbeing.
Jewelsofwellbeing.com, and that instruction page should come up, and it does have a place there for people to click and get a nice clarity call with me, just to talk. And my phone number is okay for you to, reach out to me with a text, is 210-313-9159. And
all right, great. We'll put that in the show notes, so don't worry if you
and
didn't
my
catch it.
email is julie.little52@gmail.
Great. Okay, so lots of ways to reach out to Julie Little. And so if you're feeling like, oh, I'm curious, I'd like to learn more about It's My Turn, or I would like to just get to know Julie a little bit better and see if she's a good fit for me as a coach, you can reach out to her. And again, we'll have it all in the show notes. And Julie, I always like to give away, have a prize. So Julie has agreed for the first 3 people who reach out to give away a copy of her book, Light on the Pond Scum. Oh, there it is. So if you're watching us, you can see it. Of course, if you're listening, you cannot. But it's got a beautiful cover. So if you're interested, reach out to Julie, and you will be able to get your very own free copy of her book, and just have a conversation. So those are some things coming up for Julie, and I hope that you'll take advantage of them. And of course, if you want to reach me, Linda at Inner Clarity, INNER, innerclarity.biz. And I'm always happy to talk to you further. All right, Julie, I think that we are good. Any last things? I know you had a quote that we had talked about beforehand. I don't know if you want to end with a fabulous
That would be
quote.
great. Yes, this is from Gandhi, and it was something I found 5 years ago, and it came back to me. And to me, it relates to the compassion for yourself and being keeping your word to yourself, being who you said you would be. Gandhi says it like this: happiness is when what you think and what you say and what you do are in harmony.
True words.
So that gives you lots to think about, because there's a lot there.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Well, it was such a joy to talk to you, Julie. So much fun to get to know you even better and to share your message of self-compassion with the world. And listeners, we're going to be back in a few weeks with some more amazing teachings and some more incredible teachers. So keep listening. Make sure you follow on all the podcast stations that you have. And we look forward to continuing in this path of inspiration, of trusting your wisdom. So have an amazing day, an amazing week. And Julie and I are both sending you lots of love.
Thank you, Linda, so much. I love your podcast. This is great.
Thanks, Julie.
Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to leave a review and share this podcast. To learn more or to book a personal session with Linda, go to innerclarity.biz or click the link in the show notes. And may you always trust your wisdom.